Hi everybody, and thanks for stopping by for another unboxing video. Today I'll be unboxing the Engenius ECB9500 wireless device. As you can see from the box, it says that it is a wireless client bridge, but actually this device does lots of things. It has several different modes, and I actually will be using it for an access point. Now, I actually have some experience with some Engenius devices before. I actually installed a device very similar to this for one of my clients a year or two ago, and I've been very pleased with the result. I found it to be very stable, and it has a feature set that usually is reserved for devices that cost a lot more. This one here at the time of my purchase here cost about $80 to $100, and it has a lot of features that are found only on competing models that cost a good bit more. In particular, some of the features I'm talking about, one of them is power over Ethernet. Very handy if you're going to mount this up high somewhere and you don't want to have to run two cables to it. Another thing that sets this apart from some of the other access points out there is that it has a gigabit Ethernet connection. Now you might be thinking, what is that good for? Because if you're serving internet access, there's no internet connection available to most people today that goes anywhere near that speed, so you won't saturate a connection like that if you're just serving an internet connection. However, if you're using this to allow access to files on a server perhaps, you could easily get enough wireless clients to saturate a 100 megabit connection. So a 1 gigabit connection is a valuable thing to have in certain circumstances. Now, it doesn't say this anywhere in the front of the box, but I understand this device also supports VLANs, and so you can actually set it up with multiple SSIDs, and so it looks like there's actually several wireless networks, and each of those networks, the traffic from them is tagged with a different VLAN, and so if you have switching infrastructure that supports VLANs, you can actually provide different levels of access to your clients depending on which wireless SSID they connect to. One last thing I failed to mention earlier is that this device does support wireless B, wireless G, and wireless N, so regardless of what kind of device you're connecting to it, it should be compatible. As I mentioned earlier, this wireless device can be used for a lot of different functions, and here in the back of the box there are diagrams to illustrate each of the functions that it can perform. So I'm going to just go over these briefly and explain to the best of my ability what each of them does. First, it can be used as a wireless access point, and that's what I plan to use it for, and that's essentially to provide wireless access to an existing network without doing any sort of routing or anything like that. And then secondly, also as a bridge, and that is simply to connect two wired networks together, such as a couple different buildings. There's also the client bridge. In that mode, it essentially works much the same, or provides the same function as a USB wireless adapter, for example, except that obviously an Ethernet cable can be much longer, so you have a lot more flexibility as to where you place the wireless client in relation to your computer. Now, this mode here, I'm not quite sure how it compares with this one down here. They both look similar to me. One looks like you are possibly repeating your own private wireless network. In the other case, you're repeating a wireless ISP in order for your clients to connect. So they look somewhat similar. Here's the client router mode, and that is when you have a wireless ISP and you want to connect that with a wired network of your own and route between them. And down here it is the mode simply called router, which is very similar except in reverse. In this case, the ISP is wired, and then you are serving your own wireless network and routing between the two networks. Alright, I think I'm going to go ahead and take it out of the box. Looks like we have a disc here that probably has some documentation on, I assume. Looks like this is a quick start guide. Here's the power adapter, which you can use if you're not using the power over Ethernet feature. This is the device itself. On the back it looks like we have 3 antennas, and we have a reset button and another button here. It looks like WPS. I'm not sure what that is. This is a DC in for the power adapter if you're not using power over Ethernet, and finally the network ports right here. Looks like a very short Ethernet cable. It doesn't look like that's more than 2 or 3 feet long. And then lastly, looks like they gave us 3 fairly good looking antennas here. And that's pretty much it. Hope you've enjoyed the unboxing, and feel free to rate this video by pressing the like or dislike below, and stop by our blog at www.bernardotech.org.